And so in 1985, I was 22 years old. I was in college, kinda. I was like at least appearing to be in college, and I was a bit lost. I was feeling lost. But one thing I knew is that I longed for love. I longed for love. And what about love? So when we look at the words, the song, we always review the words, don't we? It's like, does this fit? Do we need to change a word? But we left this song. And the song is quite a bit about longing, about frustration, about seeking, about trying. And if we look at many of the love songs, so many of them are like that. And I believe that we have just been bombarded with very odd messages about what love is. Messages that love can be obtained, that it can be possessed, that it can be manipulated, that it can be bargained for, that it can be lost, that we must look for it, we must seek it, and once we find it, we have to jump through hoops in order to keep it, because if we lose it, then we're lost. And so that's what I see a lot in our messages and in our messaging, which is in music, which is in movies. We see it all around us, don't we? And so at the very same time this was going on, I was also looking for the perfect video and the perfect story to share with you about love. And during my research, what I noticed is that when I just used the word love, what would pop up was always the romantic love. And that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for something higher, broader, deeper, the true, real love that can't be bargained for, can't be lost, is changeless. And so that's what I was really looking for. But everything that came up was about what we call in A Course in Miracles special love. And special love is when, love is conditional. And it's fueled by the mind of the ego, which is the mind of fear. So it operates under the belief that you're lacking something inherently, and that something out there can fix you. And it's a relationship, it's a person. You complete me, you make me whole. Special love often and always goes into what we call special hate, also fueled by the ego. You've heard songs where there's this thin line between love and hate. And if somebody doesn't behave in the way that we think that they should in order to complete us according to the rules that we've set, then it can slip into anger and hatred. And so that's not the love that I was interested in talking about. This is the love of fear and the ego, where we actually strategize in order to fulfill a need because we feel unsafe and we believe that we need to be made whole. So that's not what I was looking for, but many of the stories were how to get him or her, how to keep him or her, and what to do when it's all gone and lost. And now, of course, there were stories of couples who were happily married, but again, I didn't want that exclusive kind of love that only occurs in the romantic sense of what love is. So what I notice is that in our culture, the word love seems to quickly become about romantic love. And so I thought, well, that's kind of perfect to follow this thread because this month we celebrate Valentine's Day, right? And it's a perfect opportunity for each of us in this room to observe the messages that we get about love, the romantic kind and otherwise, and to begin to, in our observation, begin to notice as we compare it to our spiritual understanding, what is of the ego or fear and what is of true, real, lasting love. So I can share with you, for me, when I go back to that 22-year-old that might have been listening to this song, and for maybe a decade after that, there were eras, there were eras in my life where February and the prospect of Valentine's Day was a painful reminder to me, a painful reminder that I was alone. And for me, to be unpartnered at that time meant that I was unloved and that somehow something was so very wrong. If I was single, I dreaded that date on that calendar. It was a cruel trick of the world. I dreaded it. And it was a day in which I would sit alone and the whole world would be 2 by 2 coupled, going out and celebrating their love. And that somehow I would then be outside of that love. It was awful. And I made it mean that something was wrong, and that something that was wrong was about me, that something was wrong with me. And so I want you to please note the drama. I'm trying to dramatize this because alternatively, there's an alternative to that view, because certainly during this period, I was partnered. And when I was partnered, oh my gosh, the poor guy that was involved, because as Valentine's Day approached, oh, the pressure. He had to read my mind and know exactly what I would want in order to craft the perfect Valentine's Day to not disappoint me. And I thought, oh boy, looking back now, gosh, what pressure. And then there were years when I pined. There was somebody in unrequited love that I pined over, and he was the only one for me. And that he just wasn't catching the love I was sending. So, there was something wrong there. And the longing and the loneliness. And then the years when I was partnered. This was sometimes the worst. Being mispartnered or mismatched, and being in the midst of another that you were supposed to love and have that romantic love for, and you just weren't feeling it anymore or whatever. And at least the way that I expected it to be. So again, I want you to note the drama. I'm trying to be very dramatic in this dramatization because I just couldn't win. There was no way. Well, you see, that's just the way the ego wants it to be for you. That's what the voice of fear wants for you. Doesn't want you to ever win. And so I was listening to the wrong voice. So then I was chatting with Tony about this, and I'm like, well, this is what it was like for me a long time ago when I would approach Valentine's Day. What was it like for you? And he's like, I was the complete opposite. I was so happy if I wasn't partnered on Valentine's Day, because then I didn't have all the pressure of trying to figure it all out. And so I'm like, okay. His view of love and winning love and strategizing to get love was completely in a different way. His was about being successful. And then what he meant by that was having wealth, because if he were wealthy enough, if he were successful enough in the world, finding a girl wouldn't be a problem, that he would just automatically be partnered. And so the question, I share this dramatization to ask you, where are your dramas around love? Where are your dramas around love? Where have you strategized to get love, to keep it? Where have you defended against the loss of it? What about love in your life? What have you done to keep it, to possess it, to make sure it doesn't leave you? Now, as we mature, we may be less dramatic about it, but it's kind of cunning and baffling. So I'm going to ask you, if you feel a little bit more mature about this conversation, to still be mindful this month about what your ideas of love are, and be real honest with yourself. It's as if we're all like walking around, is it not? Like we all know we're the light of the world. We say that all the time. And so how I'm thinking about it for this conversation is like each one of us is a light bulb. We're all a light bulb. And We are all a light bulb in a particular fixture, the body of you. And so here we are, and we say we want nothing more than to light up. We want to light up and lighten, be the light of the world that we're told that we want to be, right? But we're not lit up, or we don't feel lit up. And so we look around and we start looking around and we notice there's a cord and it's not plugged in. And so we go, that's the reason I'm just not plugged in. I need to plug into my source. And so I pick it up and I go, okay. And I go plug it out into the world. And I try to plug into other people, other circumstances, other situations that I think will be my source, will make me whole, will keep me safe. And it might work for a while. The relationship might work for a while, the career or the job, or however it is that you think that you want to identify as you, and you plug into it, and it might light you up for a little while, but it's not lasting because we're not meant to be sourced in the world of appearances. And so then we think, oh gosh, they're wrong. I'm wrong. This doesn't work. And the light goes down. And there we are, not illumined, not being the light of the world. And we try so hard, but we try so hard that we squeeze the life out of it. And there we are, that light bulb not illumined. So then my question becomes, how many ways have you sought love? How many ways have you sought it outside of yourself? In a person, in a job, in a situation? Where have you tried to plug into something out there for your life, for your sustenance, for your source, to keep you safe? For that one person, that one soulmate, gaining approval. Anybody try to gain approval, plug into the approval of somebody outside of you? A parent, a sibling, a boss, or the myriad of interactions that we have in a day where you're kind, but underneath you're expecting a kindness in return. Or you have a demeanor that you believe is the acceptable demeanor that you must carry in order to be loved. Or the work that you do in your job or in your relationship or as a volunteer, and you carry that demeanor of a giving person, but inside you feel like you're bending over backwards because you're not getting your needs met. These are all subtle ways that we are looking for love outside of ourselves. And I ask you, can you count the ways that you've done that in a lifetime or several lifetimes? Can you count the grains of sand upon the earth? We have all sought millions of ways and forms in which, if we're honest with ourselves, we already knew. We already knew it wasn't going to light us up. We already knew it wasn't going to be our source. So we've just simply got to shift our focus. We've become so disconnected, we've forgotten who we are. And in our not knowing who we are, we search. And it's understandable. It's an ancient desire to have it fulfilled, an ancient desire originating from our belief in being separate from God. So there's only one socket that fits, and it's God. It's as if we're all walking around with this gaping God-shaped hole. Some of it's gaping, some of it's cloaked very well, but it's a God-shaped hole that only God can fill. Only Spirit can fill. Only your connection with the divine can fulfill. And so that's what we're talking about here, is that we must return to the proper and right source, the only source that there is, to that connection, that connectivity with God, with Spirit, with love. Now, the good news is, the great news is, the grand and glorious news is that we live in a benevolent universe. It's always reflecting back to us exactly what we need to know, which is why I asked you to watch this month, to observe. Observe your thoughts about love, where you think it is, and how you can get it. So this is from Corinthians. For now we see only reflective as in a mirror. We see only reflective as in a mirror. This benevolent universe is ever only reflecting back to us our inner life, our inner consciousness. And so our inner consciousness, it's as within, so without, is reflecting back to us. And we're looking at our own consciousness. So however your life is, whatever your beliefs are, the benevolence of the universe is simply reflecting it back to you. It's a perfect feedback loop so that you can look at it and go, oh, well, that's not true. That's not what we talk about on Sunday. I'm going to choose again. Go within, plug into spirit. The world is but a reflection of your inner life, the reality unseen and unprepared for by all your strategies and defenses. You prepare for everything that goes on outside yourself and nothing that occurs within. And so the desire to look for our source, to plug into the world as our source, how much of your day is focused on preparing in the outer world versus your inner world? We model here all of the spiritual practices necessary to cultivate the inner world first, so that that inner world then becomes what is reflected in your lives. So, we begin today to restore love to love. We steal it back from the world. My drama's coming back out. We're going to steal it back from the world, from our conditioning, from the mind of fear that would tell us that we must find and seek love, that we must possess love, that it's elusive, that it's conditional, that it's outside of us. Well, here's the deal. I dramatically say we're going to steal it back, but it never went anywhere. I mean, that's the really cool thing. It never went anywhere. Love can't go anywhere. It is. And so it's we that abandon love. So we bring ourselves home. Great. There's no journey. It's right where we are. We just bring ourselves home to the heart and to truth. So I invite you this month to shift your ideas about love to court love, true love, lasting love. You're informed by your intention and the decisions that you say, that you claim. And so claim to know love this month. True love, real love. Desire only that. Now, Tony alluded to this earlier, but both A Course in Miracles, because I want to get to how, both A Course in Miracles and A Course of Love, they both say that the meaning of love cannot be taught. And yet they proceed to write books like this big. So they try to teach us love, but it is beyond what can be taught. And so, brothers and sisters, what I have to say is that it says this because we are approaching a new era, approaching an era where learning will only take us so far. Learning takes us so far, and we do spiritual study here, and I advocate for the classes, but without plugging into that inner sanctuary, into God as source, we can study all our lives. And so we're approaching the releasing of the era of learning and stepping into the era of spiritual understanding as revealed to you, not by seeking, but by allowing. So love is not learned. However, guess what? You can notice it. Its effects are all around us. We just haven't been trained to notice. And so this month, begin to notice the effects of love. You feel it, you know it. Begin to experience it as if it's the sun. Imagine the sun right now, constant. Imagine, you have to imagine today, but the sun is there and it is shining and it's constant and it's unwavering and it's count-onable. And it's unconditional. It plays no favorites. It shines no matter what. Or imagine like a lighthouse at the edge of the water and the raging ocean that you feel that you are lost upon. At the edge between heaven and earth. And in your most challenging situations, that lighthouse illuminates for you the way home and guides you back to home. Or look at the playfulness of a child, our youth and family ministry, our Sunday school, those who serve the children. See the playfulness of the children, their innocence. They see with innocence. They forgive easily. They are playful and light and fun. Love is love, and it's everywhere. And we must turn from the world. So the step one is to unplug from the world. Unplug from the drama and the dream. In the drama and the dream, we're puffing ourselves up, we're seeking, we're looking. We have anxiety and angst. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became mature, I put away childhood things. For now we see only a reflection in the mirror. But when we unplug from the world and we plug into God, then we shall see face to face. Face to face. In the drama, we know in part. That's the best we can do. But when we are face to face, heart to heart with God, then we know fully. So we're unplugging from the world, we're connecting with God, and we're looking for love's effects. Love never fails. Love never fails. Prophecies will fail. Words will fail. Knowledge will fail, and it will pass away. But when completeness comes, all of that disappears into the nothingness from which it came. And what do you have? Love, and only love. And so take a breath with me. We're unplugging from the world's idea of love. We're turning within to the sanctuary of our being, to God consciousness, to the one and only source of love that there is. Trusting and knowing that as we do that, as we shift our consciousness, that which we see in the mirror reflects out love. And you can't help but attract your right and perfect partner. You can't help but be the right and perfect partner. You can't help but be the extension of love in the world in exactly the way you are meant to be. And so this is what I know, this is what I claim. And so I invite you to close your eyes with me to imagine. To imagine in your mind that sun shining, that unconditional love shining, constant, unwavering. And I ask you, who in your life represents that or has represented that to you? Allow that person, that experience of love like the sun to come into your awareness and notice the love that you experienced unconditionally. Or imagine that lighthouse Who in your life has been a lighthouse for you, a guide for you, a light in the darkness that leads you home, leads you back to your truth? Notice the lighthouses in your life as love. And think of the childlike nature of the one who is playful, who is forgiving, who sees your innocence, who has done that in your life. That's love. We know it by its effects. Now taking a breath. Where and with whom in your life can you be unconditional love? Unwavering, constant, never failing, never judging, patient, kind. Who in your life can you be that extension of unconditional, like the sun love? Who in your life needs the lighthouse, needs the light? Can you be the light for that person? Can you shine it for them so that they can find their way back to their home? So that they remember who they are? And where can you be the playful, innocent, childlike presence for another? That light, that levity. Where can you forgive quickly, easily for another in your life? We breathe in and we receive this love. We breathe out and we extend this love. Receive and extend. You are that light. You are that love, and I bless each and every one of us as we awaken to this, as we awaken to this consciousness of knowing the truth that sets us free here and now. God bless you. Amen.